Was the front end. That's everything on the website. And then,
so I'm just going to talk a little bit about the back. We use the API.ai framework, which is basically conversational artificial intelligence. So yes, Harold learns. It's kind of an interesting thing to experience. And then we have a webhook to our Firebase app, so that's how the two talk to each other. We use the Google Actions API so that we could do things like account linking, actually get values, return values, do kinds of calculations on values. We used OAuth 2.0 and the Google People API to link the Assistant, Firebase, and Google accounts together. Interestingly enough, because the Assistant ID, actually we built this entire app based on the premise that when you're having a single conversation in Google Assistant, your ID from that conversation is stable till the conversation is over. Overnight, the Assistant platform changed their functionality, and they decided that every intent that you issue in a single conversation will re-engage your ID and change your ID. So everything broke. So we had to build it from the ground up and figure out how we could have a unique identifier shared across our site and our database and our Assistant. And then what we've discovered really quickly with that is that because Firebase has a different ID than Google and Assistant, and because they won't let you use your email address as an ID because of the @ symbol, and if you have grandchildren in Firebase, you can't actually do a snapshot at the third level, we had to flatten our database structure quite a bit and use email address as our linker, and I indexed the attribute email so that I could speed up through user data and find a match of email. So that's kind of how we worked around the terrible ID situation. And then we used NPN, instead of using like Node as our server, we used Firebase Functions, which was just launched at Google I/O at the end of May. That also is a pretty new platform. It's quite interesting. It has some benefits, but I think it's still a baby and it's not quite there yet. One of the things that's pretty cool about Firebase Functions, though, is you do a lot of your database calculations in a cloud-based server, which enables you to pass a lot of sensitive information without actually having to worry about some of the kind of harder things you might have if data was kind of going to and from a client. So that was one of the benefits of using that. Okay, so just going to talk a little bit about Google Assistant.
yeah, so the app is essentially designed to kind of alleviate this need for you to individually ask everybody and that awkwardness of, will you person help me? Because that puts pressure on you to help them and pressure on them to respond to you. With this, you're in or you're out, and then it doesn't record the no's. And Assistant is really good at just pushing that out and then just taking in those yes responses. But currently, Google Assistant is obnoxious. It's an extra step to do anything. So like it does little things like, I want to shop, and then you go to Google Assistant and goes, I want to shop, and then Google Assistant goes to Amazon and pulls those back. I would just go to Amazon. Or, hey Google Assistant, I need an Uber, and Google Assistant opens Uber for you. It's not helpful, it's just an extra step. And our design is making an assistant an actual assistant. He is a means to an end, not a step to an end. And that was really interesting about turning this platform into something that is useful and not obnoxious.
Yeah, I mean, one of the cool things about it is that you don't actually have to, we can do that in a minute, yeah. You don't actually have to have the website open because of the way push notification works, if it worked. You literally could talk to Assistant and be like, I need milk, and Assistant would, you pick your village, it'll go off and do it, come back with your responses, and then you can just jump into a chat. And that to me felt like a really good cycle for anyone who does not have access to a laptop computer, anyone who is mobile-based, anyone who can't actually type because everything is voice controlled. Oh, I'm just going to cover it. Yeah. Anyone with special needs or any kind of hand control disabilities or whatever, this is a solution for them to get help without actually having to type anything, which
Yeah,
is quite interesting.
I have a friend with cerebral palsy, and the voice to text thing is something she is constantly using, and that was another appeal about Google Assistant is you talk to it, and it takes your voice.
And kind of going off that, one of the reasons why I wanted to do Google Assistant is because I really wanted to dip my toes a little bit into AI. Overheard a conversation with Michael and someone else last week where we're talking about AI is the big hype, but it's really a bunch of BS. I actually had that same idea, like, oh God, this is probably just like throw a ton of data at something and come back with a little bit more of information. And I just wanted to understand what AI was like and if the hype wasn't worth it. And the interesting thing about working with AI, particularly as a developer, is that when we first started talking to Harold, it was like talking to an incredibly intelligent toddler who has no idea what the language is yet, but as you continue to kind of speak to the toddler, it learns super, super fast. So this was kind of an interesting thing to learn, which was like when we started off and we had a conversation with Harold, you had to follow the exact path of conversation. I gotta wrap it up. Okay, well, if you want to hear about AI, you can come talk to me. Last but not least, we had a lot of trouble along the way with our learnings, and we came up with a lot of phrases that I'm not going to repeat, but this is definitely the song that got us through it. And I don't know if you know it, and I probably should kill it, but it's kind of fun.
It's worth it.
Okay.
It's worth it.
It's kind of worth it.
Any questions
Yeah.
while this is going?
We hope we can do it. Because they're all depending on me.
It's actually pretty
That
catchy.
I must leave the only home I've ever known and brave the dangers of the forest, saving them before they're eaten.
Quite the voice
I
for a
mean,
troll.
Yeah.
how hard can that be?
This moment here,
Many times.
yeah, many times for this app.
Any questions
Yeah.
on Harold?
The sunny skies
Or
are
Village.
shiny and blue, and there's a butterfly. Well, isn't that super fantastic?
Yeah. Okay, sorry. I can't stop
This was our app, like
Yeah.
once every other day, just destroyed.
I can't
It's
seem
gonna
to
be a
mute, which is hilarious.
fantastic day. Such
Yeah, well,
joy.
it's on the TVs. You gotta pause it.
I can't get pushed, I can't shut it up. None of this related to the app itself.
Hey!